Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Pam Myers with Pam Myers Social Media. My company provides comprehensive SEO and digital marketing services for clients around the United States. You can find me on pammyersocialmedia.com. Today, I like to have a conversation with Jane C. Phillips. Jane is a medical intuitive, a psychic medium, and a paranormal investigator. And this weekly video blog showcases the healing, psychic, and paranormal work that Jane does. But today, we are going to talk about Jane's recent move back into her tiny house. And it's been quite a experience over the past couple of weeks. Good morning, Jane. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. So welcome, everybody. I've actually not been taking very many clients over the last few weeks because I had to leave my tiny house stored for a couple of years because of the COVID pandemic. I moved in with a friend who was kind enough to put me up. And because I moved into the Santa Fe area closer into town and was not able to find a place to put my house. So here I am with kind of funky lighting on my hot spot. And behind me, you're seeing the front area of my tiny house. The door is where the doggies are looking out the window. And so I've been sleeping here for the last 4 nights. And for those of you who don't know that I have always loved small spaces and things you can manage easily, this has been my journey for quite a while. I had this house built in 2015 by a company called Tumbleweeds Tiny Homes up in Colorado Springs, is their build site. But they were the first creators of this whole tiny home movement. Jay Schaefer was the one that created what I was aware of, a 16-foot tiny house on wheels that he traveled with and started the company. He's since moved on and is doing build plans for like 250 square foot permanent homes on foundations. So at some point, maybe I'll do something like that with him. But he had left the company by the time that I had mine built. And as you can see, we're having a little problem with the lighting. So hopefully the sound will be fine, but I'm on my hot spot and it's doing what it's doing. So anyway, I just wanted to talk to you live from my tiny home, see if it was going to work, and let you know that there's a journey to this. For those of you, I have a lot of friends who are interested in this. And for those of you who are interested in living tiny, there are a lot of things to consider, which I knew a lot of them before I took this adventure on. One of them is there aren't very good regulations for permanently living tiny. If I'm a certified RV, I made sure that the company that I built it with was certified, would be able to certify this as an RV. When I first tried to get title to this property, what I'd gotten from the Tumbleweeds was just a cost sheet. So I really didn't even get a bill of sale. So I had to get a bill of sale before I could even get title. And then when I mentioned that it was a tiny home, Santa Fe said, "Oh, we won't give you a bill of a title because it's a tiny home." I said, "No, it's a certified RV." So I waited a couple of weeks and went back to the DMV, to a different one, and just presented them everything and didn't mention tiny home, and I have title now. So there's some challenges that everybody thinks it's a great deal, and it can be, but there's some challenges and learning curves that go with finding a place to stay permanently, having enough electricity. Right now, I'm at a 30-watt property, the plug-in, and my house requires 50-watt, not watt, amps. Sorry, you guys. Shows you that I'm doing. So 30 amps versus 50 amps. And so my air conditioner isn't running and it gets kind of hot in the afternoon. So I'm figuring out after 4 days when to shut the windows to keep all the cool air in.
Right.
And when to open them up. and what times of day that it's really best to be somewhere else or just hunker down a bit.
Yeah.
So I moved this house here. I'm on the other side of, for those of you in Santa Fe, on the other side of the bypass freeway of Santa Fe, 599. And the house got moved about 3 weeks ago. I also have a tiny office that's not on wheels, which was a challenge to move. And that got moved at the end of August. And it does not have electricity yet, but I have a solar battery that that's also can plug into electrical, so I can run my computer and that sort of thing. So, so here I am, living tiny. Water's working. Hot water is not yet. I don't understand what that part is, so we'll work that out. And I'm trying to remember where I put everything the last time, because I lived here for 5 years with my dog on a ranch of a good friend of mine, and it was lovely. And we had a really good time, and I had help from my friend's husband because I didn't know you had to level these things. And so he helped me level it because they're heavy. This requires a pretty big truck, which I don't own, to tow it. Somebody has to be able to tow 10,000 pounds. That's the rate of the trailer to be able to move it. And it's not aerodynamic. You're pulling a house on wheels. And so for those of you who think that's going to be great to have a tiny home and travel the country, think about it again. You're better off with an Airstream or something that's aerodynamic, right?
Yes, right. Makes sense.
But if you like the idea of living tiny, really being minimalistic, I have 23 inches of closet space. That's it. Storage over my head. I have storage under my butt. I have storage. I have a downstairs bedroom, which my dog uses, and I'm waiting for a new mattress because I sold the other ones during that 2 years to come in. And I have storage under there. And I have a composting toilet, which I will highly recommend that if you decide to build a tiny home, do not get a toilet that needs water. It really limits your possibilities of where you can move. The only hose that I need for water elimination is gray water, which comes from the shower and from the sink. And so I don't have to worry about disposal of black water. I have to remove the contents of my Nature's Head toilet, which is liquids and solids. But you use peat moss for the solids. And we have a lot of trees out here. And for people who choose to live more in the city, then they just bag up their solids and they find a place to put their liquids. But one of the things I do with my liquid waste is the container that it goes in, I put vinegar in and I put a lot of water before I start using it. And it keeps it cleaner and is also environmentally not going to, if I throw something out there on a tree, it's going to be easier.
Right.
So
right.
I'm
That's
back.
interesting.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest plus for you to, what's been the biggest joy?
Well, first of all, this is my home. I own it free and clear. A lot of you who are listening do not own your home free and clear. I spent most of my savings to do this, but my rent on this property, because I have 2 buildings and the landlady's nice, in Santa Fe, rent for an RV spot like this is about $550 a month. The landlady is charging me $125 because I have another building, which my office is in, so that I can actually leave here and get a little space to go work during the cool parts of the day. But that's it's really nice to have your own space, and I'm pretty private. And I have within a block of here, I have a very beautiful arroyo with lots of shade in the morning and the evenings that I can go into and take the dog for long walks. I can sit out outside. I do have trees surrounding me, which I've trimmed up so it looks nice, because a lot of these rural properties are ranches and they don't maintain their trees, especially in New Mexico. We have a lot of juniper and pinon, and they just are let run wild. So I trim them up a bit, and I'm watering them so they're going to be more lush. I'm on a well. That's another plus. I'm not paying for electricity here. I'm not paying for my water. And
Wow.
it's, for me, it's a lot of freedom and
Yeah.
relearning what you're going to keep and what you have too much of, because in the 21 months I was living with a friend, I gathered a few extra things which are now have been donated. So this isn't for everybody. And if you're all excited about living tiny, understand some of the challenges of it is finding a place that's not in an RV park, because that is not what I did this for. In Santa Fe, if you're in an RV park, you could be paying $750 a month, especially during the top season. And when you're rural, I've paid as little as $100 or $300. And but the big trick is finding a compatible landlord, is finding space that feels welcoming to you. This isn't as lovely as my previous space, but the nice thing is I have a dog, and when she was worried for all the time I was packing up, and she kept seeing less and less in the room I was living in. And I finally took her out, and she looked, and she walked up and went, "Oh," and walked in, and she walked around, and it's like, well, I know this. And she walked in my office, and she knew that too. And so, and I was worried because she's 12 now, whether I purposely had steps built, and I may do a follow-up next week, but I purposely had steps built that were fairly walkable. They're still steep, with the hopes that she would be able to come up to the loft where my bed is and come up and down. And I thought, well, she's 12. It's been 2 years, and maybe this isn't going to work. And I came home after leaving her alone for a bit, and she looked down at me from the top of the stairs. And I have her, I don't have the mattress yet, so I put a nice cushy bed of hers in the lower level room, and she has a ramp because she doesn't jump as well anymore. And she was sleeping on the ramp, walked up the ramp and slept in the bed the last 2 nights. And then, or not the last 2 nights, previous. And the last 2 nights, she clumped up the stairs and slept with me. And I don't have a bed up there, so for her. So in the middle of the night, last night, I finally forced her onto my bed. And you'll like this, everyone. I sleep on a twin bed now. If something in my life changes that I might need a larger bed, we'll work it out.
Right.
Now, my twin bed, my feet can go to one side, and if the dog wants to sleep upstairs, I'll let her sleep on the bed, or I might rearrange things so I can get a bed up there. But so for all of you, I'm back in it. If you have any questions about tiny living, send me an email. My website is janecphillips.com. I'm happy to talk about that. I am open for business, maybe not full-time right yet, because it takes a while to repack something tiny. But you can go and set appointments with me through my website also. So thanks for listening this week. Thanks for putting up with the kind of 4 days in funky lighting. But I'm thrilled to be back. It feels comfortable. It feels like home. And even with the challenges that I'm still facing getting set up, it doesn't feel like this was a mistake at all. And I've had people ask me that. I have a nice landlady. My dog's happy. I've got shade. And once I get air conditioning, it'll even be a little bit better.
Right.
Anything else, Pam, you can think of that I should have covered?
No, I think you did great, Jane. We will look forward to seeing everybody then next Thursday, where we'll have new topics to discuss. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, everybody, for joining us. Oops, sorry, Jane. Go ahead.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next week at 10:30 Mountain Time. Again, I'm Pam Myers with Pam Myers Social Media. Please leave comments in the chat space if you have something to say about our videos. Thanks so much for joining.